Kyiv still a dangerous place, and Kyiv still the target of Russians. Yes, of course. The capital of Ukraine is a goal, and they want to occupy it. They doesn't have a chance to do that. Thanks for Ukrainian forces, for Ukrainian soldiers. They destroy the plans of Russians, but we see the risk, huge risk, reckless attack, and right now it's main priority to save the lives of the people. For me personally, and we do it the best, but we can't guarantee the next couple of minutes or next couple of hours or next couple of days we have the next reckless attack.
The first one struck on that side. It was really loud. I thought it fell somewhere near my office. After about 10 seconds, the second one hit, here. I then realized this one was even closer. I shut myself in the toilet. I closed the door and thought there would be another one, but thank God there were no others.
They killed so many people. It is very difficult. Our brothers, thanks to them for our freedom. They won't leave anything standing. I can't anymore.
We begin with the latest developments in the war in Ukraine. Kyiv says its forces are sustaining heavy losses as Russia steps up its assault in the east, though the Ukrainians maintain that Russian losses are worse. Thousands of civilians, including those trapped inside the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol, are hoping to be evacuated to safety, following speculation about a deal brokered with Russia by the UN Secretary-General.
Buses waiting to evacuate civilians from Liman in Ukraine's east. What was once a quiet rural town is now on the front line of an offensive by Russian forces trying to move towards the city of Kramatorsk. Ukraine's government claims it has inflicted losses on Russia's military. That's impossible to verify, but these images show how the war is taking a heavy toll on non-combatants. An apartment building hit by a Russian missile. The blast killed one resident, a journalist from Radio Liberty, and injured several more. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, seen here presenting medals to service personnel, said the attack was an attempt by Russia to humiliate the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who was visiting Kyiv at the time. This footage released by Russia's Ministry of Defense purports to show artillery firing on Ukrainian positions. Again, verifying when or where it was filmed is impossible. But as the West rushes to arm Ukraine, it indicates Russia is gearing up to continue fighting.
Has been hit just as Antonio Guterres from the United Nations was in Kiev to talk to Vladimir Zelensky. So there's absolutely no trust between the two parties, which renders the negotiations, of course, very difficult, and it shows no sign to getting any better, with the fighting continuing all over the country.
Thank you for that, Emmanuel. DW correspondent Emmanuel Shaz in Lviv. Well, the historic city of Odessa has so far largely been spared in this conflict, but Russia's military says it aims to capture what is Ukraine's biggest port. Russian forces will have to contend with Odessa's residents. Thousands are now getting ready to defend their homes.
Assembling and disarming an AK-47. Skills these people in Odessa would never have imagined needing. But now, they must familiarize themselves with the weapons they may need to defend their city. I came here because I realized that I need to protect my country. We are all needed, men and women, because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. More than 5,000 volunteers have signed up at paramilitary centers like this one. They are being trained in urban combat tactics, weapons handling, and military strategy. Those who want to continue can train with territorial defenses or even the army. We are training people who want to be sure they know how to help in extreme situations. That is why we are now teaching them basic combat and first aid. Those who aren't taking up arms are taking up shovels. People have been covering up Odessa's many monuments with sandbags to protect at least its symbols from war.
Let's take a look at some more stories related to this war. Indonesia. Russia has begun preparations for its Victory Day parade on the 9th of May. Military vehicles filled central Moscow to practice for the annual commemoration of victory against Nazi Germany. It's thought Vladimir Putin is pressing for a breakthrough in Ukraine before the ceremony.
How you feeling, John?
Free landing. Bit of wind, here we go.
We're Vans Without Borders, which is 3 British lads in a transit van. So we have John. Hey. I'm Jack. And in the back we have Fenton. Hello. Fenton's actually come out after he's seen the last sun piece that they did in us. So thank you very much, guys, for helping us find new team members.
Right, gents.
Dead Russian gear hit.
Clear. This blows up, every mood it gets it.
This is inside a Russian tank.
There's not a lot of room in there for such a big machine, is there?
So I'm here. You can see, you know, it's a 2-man tank and it's absolutely tiny. They seem to have cleared off with anything of value before they left. That's where they would load the shells to shoot. So far we've been all over Ukraine, from Lviv to Kiev to Kharkiv to Chernihiv, Bucha, Irpin, Zhytomyr. You know, you name it, we've been there, dropping off essential aid, and we've helped thousands of people since coming here 3 weeks ago. This is something we found quite common that the Russians do as they come through and devastate an area. So on Monday we delivered almost £6,000 worth of aid to Chernihiv, a region 20 kilometers from the Belarusian border, which was devastated in the initial Russian assault on Ukraine by tanks, artillery, missiles. Even their local supermarkets were all bombed to smithereens. People's houses were bulldozed. There's no electricity, there's no water, there's no heating. It's a very dire situation and the people are extremely desperate. This is a civilian area that's just been completely bombed. Chernihiv is also quite hard to reach because the roads, even before the war, weren't particularly great. Lots of potholes and a lot of vehicles can't get through them, so it's not easy for a lot of the international aid organisations to go there, or it's maybe perhaps not Instagrammable. But we teamed up with the army. We explained to them we were in Chernihiv about a week before that. We saw how desperate the people were. We saw people fighting for food, and we thought we've got to go back with something mega. So we had our van, we had a local priest van, and we teamed up with Obolon region, which is a territorial army brigade in Kiev, and they very kindly let us use one of their military vans, which we filled up with tons of aid. We had to pull over at one point because we heard bullets being fired around us, and we're still unsure what that was. So we've been held up because there's gunfire. I don't think anyone's really sure what's going on the way to Chernihiv. So we're quite close to the Belarusian border at the moment. You know, there's massive traffic build up. But again, life goes on as normal. No one seems overly concerned because it's part of everyday life now. It's a tragedy. But we managed to get into Chernihiv, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire for our new recruit Fenton. It was his first operation with us, and it was good. We gave out all of the food, so thousands of tins of food, bread, shampoo, all the basic necessities we gave out. and we helped at least 1,000, if not more people. But sadly, in one area, in one village in the centre of Chernihiv, it was shocking, really. We got swarmed by desperate people who started pulling boxes out of the van, pulling boxes out of the military van, wrestling with each other for food, shampoo. It's really hard to see. It's hard to see. You know, it's not something I think's really been seen before. Europeans, at least in modern history, Europeans squabbling and fighting for food.
Расходитесь отсюда, пожалуйста. Закрывайте. Закрывайте.
Yeah, it's a bit. Actually, from that area, our military escort advised us we had to pull out, so we left some food on the side of the road for the locals to hopefully divvy up amongst themselves, and got out there quick because we were told it wasn't safe for us to be there. Yeah, we always knew this was an issue coming into Ukraine. Aren't you scared of the Russians? It's like, well, it is what it is. We understand the risk there, but I think one of the sad risks is there are some very desperate people. Yeah. It was absolute carnage. Unfortunately, the people in Chernihiv were very desperate. We had to leave a location because we got swarmed by desperate elderly people who were grabbing things out of the van, trying to pull some of our workers and volunteers out of the way. And we had an army escort with us, and they advised us to pull out of the area or they couldn't guarantee our safety, which was quite sad. We did leave some food on the side of the road for people, so they did have something in the area, and we were able to help other villages around Chernihiv. But it's the first time I think all of us have seen people in Europe that desperate. So you can see here where a tank's been blown up. Here. And part of the tank's blown over here as well. That was the force of the explosion. And you can see here where people are so desperate for water. There's no running water in Chernihiv. They're tapping into trees to collect water. They're using ancient techniques to survive. The veterans who have been left destitute as a result of the Russian attacks on their homes in Chernihiv. Chernihiv is quite inaccessible by the road, so it means aid struggles to reach them. So there's £5,400 worth of aid. It's candles, shampoo, fish, bread, water, oats, rice, pasta. Anything you can imagine we've given out today. We've helped hundreds of people, if not about 1,000. And these people are extremely desperate. Their houses were devastated by Putin and the Russian army. And it's a fantastic feeling to be able to help so many people and make a real difference to their quality of life. John. So you're lucky we didn't give out all the boxes. Exactly.
Może na zajętuje pójdziemy? Bang, 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 bang.
You can see here that people aren't particularly wealthy. They live a simple life in the countryside, and Russian tanks have just driven through here and decimated it. No apparent reason. Where whoever did that to those trees then went and demolished a row of houses. You got mortar rounds there. And again, because there's no services no rubbish collection, people have resorted to filling the mortar holes with their trash. Whole row of houses just destroyed. And why? So we've pretty much run out of food. It's quite sad, you know, we've given out 3 vans load of food and people keep coming. And you can see people are very visibly disappointed. We just simply don't have enough to keep up with the demand. You know, we've helped maybe over 1,000 people. More people keep turning up and it's sad. People are ridden down, but there's nothing left. We've given out thousands of tins of fish. Tough. It's quite tough to see and shows that despite aid starting to appear in Ukraine, I think we did some amazing pioneering work, connecting groups throughout Ukraine and also encouraging international aid organisations to turn up in Ukraine. In fact, today we've just seen the first UN vehicle in the 3 weeks we've been here arrive in Vinnytsia, which again is, I don't think it's an area that's been bombed and is relatively safe. Life is as normal and they finally decided to show up, so hats off to them. So we just dropped off about £5,400 worth of humanitarian aid. Actually, it was a little bit more because we had some aid we were distributing yesterday on Easter, which we rolled over to today. So we had lots of chocolates as well as tinned fish, bread, and the Ukrainian army very kindly lent us something which is like a removals van, which we're able to stock up with food, which is fantastic because it trebled, I'd say, the load we could have taken to Chernihiv, as well as another van which is driven by the local priest of St. Anastasia Church in Kiev. And it was great. The day was fantastic. Like, the people of Chernihiv are incredibly in need. The Russians devastated their local infrastructure, so they have no water, they have no heating, they have no electric, and Chernihiv is not a strategic position. It's a relatively small area, 20 kilometers from the Belarusian border, and Russian tanks and artillery came in and destroyed the lives of people who live quite simple lives. They don't have huge houses. You can see it's made out of wood, handmade. They raise animals, they're farmers. They posed no threat to Russia, yet the Russians still decided to terrorize them. But they were unsuccessful in breaking their morale, which we saw today. And the day started off, we stocked up with lots of food from a Ukrainian supermarket. So this is a song about Turkish drones being used by the Ukrainians to kill Russian tanks, called Bayraktar. We filled up 3 buses with the food and drove to Chernihiv across some pretty interesting roads. We actually had to stop at one point because there was gunfire around us, which was interesting. But once we arrived, the day went from strength to strength. Our first stop went very well, but unfortunately 2 of our vans got overwhelmed with people grabbing food, so we had to leave food on the side of the road because they were so desperate. So we left food for them and moved on to a second location where we gave out food and people were more organised, and went to 2 or 3 more locations before arriving at the last town, which we didn't have any contact at. And after we arrived, after about 5 minutes again, we got swarmed by hundreds of people turning up wanting food. People rode out on their bicycles from all around the area. And the final location, as I said, was fantastic. We actually gave out all of our personal food and water, which we keep in the van to ensure the locals had everything, because we ran out of the humanitarian aid we were giving out, which is a job well done. And I can only say thanks to the team, thanks to the Ukrainian army, and thanks to St. Anastasia Church for helping us. Everyone's a little bit tired now, but we're on our way back to Kiev. So John, tell us how you're feeling.
I'm a little upset. Young girl last night, about the similar sort of age to my youngest daughter, sat next to me on Google Translate. She said that she was worried for her and her family. The Russians are coming, and she's sad that so many innocent people have died. Just hit home a little bit, you know. Made me a bit homesick as well.
Currently we're on our return journey, so we've been out for 3 weeks. We'll be home after a month tour away, and we'll be coming back again in another month. So our main aim now is to fundraise, and some of the work we've done over here is connect people up with different groups in the UK who can sponsor them. So a big issue that there was before we came out was people from the UK were sending money over to Ukraine and it was being misspent. People were just stealing it. What we've done now is find people who actually go out and give food or support to people directly in affected areas such as Bucha, Irpin, Chernihiv, Kharkiv. In Kharkiv, for example, we found a group of 10 teachers who support around 1,000 elderly people who are bedridden or severely ill. And we're now able to help connect them up with UK support, which is fantastic. Today we delivered some targeted aid to some children with Down syndrome, which we've been doing the last couple of days to ensure that even though they're in western Ukraine, which is relatively safe, they still are able to function as normal and can help manage those costs associated with having a child with a disability. So we help relieve pressure in terms of food and also some toys for the kids, which they were really happy to receive. It's Peter. Fenton's only little. Very strong. Muscles. Hello? You okay? Lego? Yeah? Is there anything else? Good one too. Yeah, there's loads in there. Yeah. You're welcome. Is there anything else? Better give them the tools, mate. The tools? Yeah. Look. See that? Those ones, yeah. Which one? That, yeah. Good man. Have fun. Yeah. See you later. Bye. Bye.